Good morning. Salamat pagi. Thank you for the opportunity. Terima kasih. On behalf of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, let me welcome all of you to this International Mayors Forum for this year. Thank you for traveling from various parts of the world to join us here. I'm honored to join the opening session of the 6th edition of the Mayors Forum. Let me begin by thanking the Honorable Acting Governor, mayors and governors who have traveled, delegates and representatives of civil society. But above all, let me thank the government of the Special Region of Jakarta and the government of Indonesia for hosting the forum and for their very warm traditional hospitality. I also want to thank our organizing partners, especially the United Cities and local governments Asia Pacific and the Local 2030 Coalition. Last part of protocol, I also want to acknowledge and sincerely appreciate the work done by the RC and her team and my outstanding team from the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of Romania, who is a former mayor, Klaus Johannes, said, "Mayors have the power to change the world, one city at a time. By embracing sustainability, they can create livable, resilient, and prosperous communities." In my view, he eloquently captured the overarching objective of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals, which are meant to create an inclusive, resilient, prosperous future for all on a healthy planet. A future in which no one is left behind. But we know such future will be created in the cities and at the local levels. Why? Because nearly 70% of the world's population expected to live in cities by 2050. Cities consume over 2/3 of the world's energy and are responsible for more than 75% of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. Cities also contribute as much as 80% of the global GDP. 65% of the SDG targets are linked to the work and mandates of local and regional governments. Realization of 90% of the SDGs targets is related directly or indirectly with infrastructure investments. And most of these will happen in urban areas, especially in developing countries. That is why the SDG Summit last year identified localization of SDGs as one of the high-impact initiatives that could drive SDG implementation. But mayors, it is the same summit that issued the call to rescue the SDGs. The SDG Progress Report 2024, which was launched by the Secretary General on Friday, tells us that only 17% of the targets are on track. SDGs are indeed dire need of a booster. And we do not have a moment to lose. The deadline is fast approaching. The clock is ticking. Ladies and gentlemen, I just don't want to paint a grim picture. I have also read very encouraging stories of how the cities and local governments are embracing SDGs and driving action. Right here in Indonesia, Jakarta's Smart City Initiative, Surabaya Waste Management Program, Bandung Public Transportation Improvement, and Bali Life Below Water are advancing implementation to give us hope and courage to meet this challenge. We have also heard reassuring stories from all over the world, from Kerala to Cape Town, from Gothenburg to Freiburg, and Barcelona to Toyama. It's all what the mayors have accomplished. Above all, 10,000 cities and local governments have joined the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. You are leading action. Local and regional governments are the beacon of hope. You will drive change. But the change must increasingly focus Let me welcome the Honorable Minister. Thank you, Minister, for joining us. Thank you. The change must focus on structural and transformational changes if you really want to put this world on a sustainable path. And why so? Why can't we continue with business as usual? Why can't we just do tinkering on the margins? And let me tell you why that will not work. We have identified 6 key transitions that every society will have to undergo. There is no choice. There are no options. These transitions include food systems, and you already see because of climate change, you have to rethink your food systems. Energy access and affordability. Digital connectivity, which also includes artificial intelligence. Education, jobs and social protection. Climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. These transitions are imperative and require structural changes. Those changes at the national and subnational levels would span from improving governance to rethinking policy to managing trade-offs, and above all, reorienting our markets. Let's not measure prosperity just by GDP growth. Measure prosperity for the well-being of society, for the health of this planet. And that will be a systemic shift in mindset, the way we measure our growth, well-being, and prosperity. But ladies and gentlemen, local action is critical. It does not happen in a vacuum. You are directly impacted by the global events. Many countries are still grappling with the short and long-term effects of global events ranging from COVID-19, conflicts, inflation, rising cost of capital, growing trade protectionism, and ravages of climate change. These are taking a heavy toll on our societies in terms of living standards, lives and livelihoods, social cohesion, and basic human security. There is a growing call. Global community has to act in solidarity to address these challenges. I also want to add special emphasis to affordable and long-term finance that every government needs. We have a 4.5 trillion SDG financing gap. That's why the UN Secretary General has repeatedly called for the implementation of the SDG stimulus. Let me assure you, the UN is trying to advance solutions at the global level. I urge you to add your voice and ideas to these efforts, starting with the Summit of the Future, which will be held in September in New York this year. The 4th Conference on Financing for Development and the World Summit for Social Development, both will be held next year in June and September. This forum's deliberations will also contribute to the high-level political forum starting next week in New York. We are listening to you. We want your contributions. Your voices should be loud and clear about the global actions that are needed for local governments to deliver on the promise of leaving no one behind. Ladies and gentlemen, as I acknowledge, the challenges are global, but the solutions often begin at the local levels. As the UN Secretary General said, cities are where the climate battle will largely be won or lost. I believe that collaboration and knowledge sharing among cities are vital. Forums like this provide an invaluable platform for exchanging innovative ideas and successful strategies. I urge all of us to strengthen our partnerships, both within our cities and with our counterparts around the world. By working together, we can amplify our impact and accelerate the transition to a sustainable, inclusive, and climate-resilient future. Let me assure you that my department, UN DESA, remains your partner with unwavering commitment to advance localization of the SDGs for accelerated implementation. And we have just 6.5 years to go. Let me conclude by a quote from Mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau. Local authorities have the unique ability to innovate and implement sustainable solutions that can inspire the rest of the world. Let's inspire each other and the whole world with boundless enthusiasm and commitment for bold actions to create a prosperous future for everyone on a healthy planet. We owe it to succeeding generations. Thank you again for your engagement and participation. Terima kasih.